Hello everybody, this is Ketchup here, and as you can probably tell, it is finally time to talk about Sektor in Mortal Kombat 1. The base character, I mean, although there's going to be some cameo too. So why have I not made a video immediately on Sektor? Well, truth be told, I've been grinding the character. I've been trying to learn, I've been trying to understand kind of what the game plan is, some cameo combinations, kind of how to put everything into one coherent package, and that's why now I think it's definitely time to do that. So, I want to keep the intro short and sweet for the basic moves and everything else because, you know, if you're playing Sektor, you kind of already know what these moves are, but I'm going to lay it out regardless, and then the bulk of this will be talking about cameo teams because there's quite a lot of synergy to be had. So, first of all, buttons and strings and all that good stuff. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You have 1-1, which is 1-1-2 to end. 1-1 is safe on block. It's only -1, so it's a pretty decent stagger. And with a 7-frame startup with a standing 1, that's quite good. It tends to be your go-to quick little punish that is also hit confirmable. Should you stick this out, if you see it hit, you confirm into teleport or something else, and you get yourself a full combo. This is your fastest avenue to that situation, so that's good for what it is. Now, another string, and this is more of a high damage string that you want to punish with, is 4-2. 4-2 will also combo into teleport and other things. However, there is an ender 4-2 grab. Now this grab, while it looks really cool, can only be special cancelled by cameo summon attacks. So in Sektor's case, you know, you can do Flame Burner, you can do teleport. It doesn't come out on block, so there's really no reason you wouldn't just buffer it, right? Like if the opponent's blocking and you're doing the cameo move, on hit it will come out and on block it won't. So you may as well just do a cameo move if the combo is what you're looking for, so that could be quite nice. The 4-2 is 0 on block, so that's, again, not too shabby for a character with a fast down 1, you know, 7 frames, 7-frame standing 1, some decent situations to play around with. So overall, 4-2 is your higher damage combo tool. An advancing mid that Sektor has is forward 2, this goes into forward 2-1-2. Forward 2-1-2 puts Sektor in an airborne state, but you can do air specials from it and get yourself some certain combos depending on what you've gone for, really. It's not just the missile that you can go for. You can go for float. Let's say this has been blocked. You can float to get to a not safe situation, but safer because it's a weird position to put the opponent in. But the float off that does cost 1 bar of meter. So keep that in mind if you're trying to stay a little bit safer and go into something else. It will cost meter. The forward 2-1-2 is not safe on its own. However, forward 2-1 is very hit confirmable. So if you're doing the advancing mid, you're kind of looking for forward 2-1 instead. You're not going to want to just dial in the whole thing because forward 2-1 is where it's at. This can be confirmed into EX teleport, as forward 2-1 regular teleport does not combo. As you can see there, you'll be punished. However, you can get a lot of cameo moves from this. So again, not the end of the world. You can still get respectable damage from other means, and the cameos will definitely help you obtain a lot more than that in various situations that I'm going to talk about later. Now, here's the bulk of the offense. There are 2 moves I specifically haven't talked about until now. Overhead back 2, low back 3. This is your bread and butter of opening people up, at least right now. So the low in back 3 has an extension, back 3-4. Hits 2 times, very good at armor breaking, and the ender of this is actually safe on block at -6, so it's not unsafe on block. That's happy days. The overhead, however, in back 2, which can become back 2-2, is unsafe on block at -18. So although there is a overhead low game going, you'll notice that neither of these set up for combos on their own. This is where you need cameos to do it. You can hard commit to some moves, like just a teleport or something from Sektor. However, a lot of ambush cameos will allow you to get full combos. Let's say I do like back 2 into missile, and then that, as you can see, will combo. Let's just keep it really simple here. Safe jump, and that's 416 damage into a safe jump. That's pretty damn decent because of what our cameos can provide. So the overhead low is a very important part of this character, and the armor breaking properties of the back 3 can also help you quite a lot. But with a lot of cameos, this is where you want to look at different teams to get different combos, right? Because you're going to be wanting to get more damage and, importantly, more safety. There are 2 moves to talk about remaining. Forward 3, an advancing low that's very unsafe on block and cannot be special cancelled. You want to make sure you use this sparingly. You don't want to over-rely on this because it is death on block. And a standing 2. A rather forgettable high on its own, although it can special cancel. This move can be held to become a mid that once again can be special cancelled, but it knocks them down instead. You can actually hold and charge this, press down to cancel it, and once it's cancelled, any standing 2 you do while your hands are glowing will be the charged version. So that's another situation that certain cameos can help you, certain specials. You really want to find your team and try and find good options from that. But it's not too bad because it has decent range. So in this kind of situation, just stick out the standing 2. I'm going to do Flame Burner. If it hits, great. You know, I get some bonus damage, go back to full screen where I can start my zoning. So these are kind of the buttons. There are some air strings as well. I'm going to quickly set the opponent to jump so I can show them, because her air strings are quite important, to be honest with you. The first and most common is 2-1-2, a ground bounce, as you can clearly see. However, using your stance change, back or forward, will activate a float special. You can do 2-1-2, forward float, 2-1-2 again, and then you can end your combo. That's a pretty common thing to do in this game, is that you can recapture, you can re-jump. The ground bounce of 2-1-2 just gives her quite a lot of different combo possibilities, and it's really good for a lot of things that I'll talk about later. Another one is 1-3-4. This move can be special cancelled. So EX teleport, for example, is going to give you an extender from that, and it does pretty high damage too, actually. So 1-3-4 is quite good. And finally, jumping 3-2. This air charge is not a special move, it is a air string that has an ender attached to it. And again, for a 2-hit, 146 damage, that's really good damage for a 2-hit air string, and I find that to be quite good for ending combos going back to full screen. So her air strings are super simple. To be honest with you, her combos in general are quite simple. That is not where she is complicated. So, on that note, let's talk about special moves and why and how you use them. Right, so let's just go one at a time. The straight projectile, back forward 1, regular projectile attack, and this will knock down the opponent. That's really handy because if you knock them on the floor, you pretty much get a free turn. You get a free next option, right? And that's always been the case of Sektor. Knock them down with a rocket, do something else, get bonus. You know, get the next turn against the opponent in a zoning war, which is really, really helpful. If you enhance this, it keeps them standing and applies a very generous damage over time. Importantly, this damage over time can actually end the round. It does not hard cut off at like 0.1%. They will lose the round if they don't have the health. This keeping them standing is why high damage combos kind of exist. So if I'm doing something like this, for example, you'll notice they're still there, they're still comboable. I'm going to get greedy and just spend a second bar, why not? 2 bar 475, not too shabby, and it all starts from the EX projectile. Not that, I fat-fingered my controller. And yeah, as you can see there, you can keep them standing, and the damage over time will continue to apply in the combo. That's one of the reasons it does so much damage. You can do this multiple times. I'm just going to use, you know, Sektor is just a basic example. Let's just, you know what, let's spend all 3. Let's spend all 3 bars. Why not? If that's going to win the game, that's well worth the meter. So the important thing, yeah, keeping them standing, that's really, really handy. The second missile is Sidewinder, down back 1. This has 4 different directions. You've got the sort of standard distance by leaving it on its own. You have the slightly closer by holding down, the very close by holding back, and towards them with forward, and then you've got up. Well, technically, I guess that might even count as... How many directions is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yo, Ryan can't count, apparently. Either way, look. There's a lot of different missile directions. That's the point I'm making. If you enhance this, you fire a homing rocket. And that's really good at the end of, like, round 1 or round 2 if you haven't got one left, because Last Breath will kind of just tank this. But if they haven't got Last Breath available, they have no choice but to Flawless Block, which is where you can kind of throw things out and mix up their timing and win the end of the round. So that's a really, really handy tool to have if you don't have Cameo Sektor, who might be able to just double up homing missiles on top of homing missiles. We love it. So yeah, Sidewinder is really good for ending a combo. For example, forward 3, which is actually standing 3, sorry, which is a button I did not mention. This is kind of your combo ender, because standing 3 will create a missile, and then as you can see, it kind of just creates that situation that you can kind of get a missile on screen, get some other missiles there, start your zoning. So that's really, really helpful to have as well. Important thing to note is that if you throw a missile and you get hit, the missile will disappear. So you can't just over-rely on this in the zoning war. If you get hit by anything while it's out, it's gonna disappear and you've done nothing. The next move is back forward 2. This is your flame burner. It's okay. I think it's okay for like certain combos that I'll talk about, you know, shortly with other cameos. On its own though, this move is not as strong as it looks. Now the first thing, obviously, it's unsafe. This is a very unsafe move, including the EX version, which is your armored reversal, minus 25. If they block, as you can see, it's still unsafe. You can spend a second bar of meter to try and create a -6 to make it safer. However, yeah, this is not a amazing reversal, to be honest, because it has one huge problem. If the opponent does something, let's just record Sub-Zero doing down 1 ice clone. If I do armor, I will destroy the clone, but I will do nothing to Sub-Zero. Now, this is just a basic example, to be honest. This happens with everything. Oh, wow, come on, Ryan. If we're in the corner or something, let's go left. The hitbox of the move disappears the moment it's hit one thing. This will count towards a cameo, an ice clone, anything that's like an obstacle that gets hit before the opponent. This will lose its active frames and you've pretty much done nothing. That's kind of how it generally works here. So I don't think the Flame Burner is that amazing, to be honest with you. But, you know, it's something that is there if you're really, really confident. Now, there's some people in the comments that will no doubt be saying, hang on a minute, Ketchup, I saw the trailer, I saw the combat cast, this move restood, this had a restand attached to it. How do I do that? I had the same problem. I was looking and looking and looking, and it turns out that last minute, they decided to take the restand of this out. It is not in the game anymore. So I can only imagine it's something they did very much like last minute because, you know, it was in the trailers and everything else. It is not in the game anymore. So don't worry, you're not going crazy. Neither am I. It just isn't in the game. So there is no restand here. You just have to roll with it. And no doubt that would have differently shaped how the character is played. Because a restand would have been really handy. Does she need a restand? I guess that kind of remains to be seen. You know what I mean? So look, don't worry. It's just not in the game anymore. It's as simple as that. So the other air projectile. So I'm talking about all these different projectiles. Down back 1 is a sort of grenade launcher rocket. You got different directions again. You can hold, you know, close, standard, far. This is just a really good air projectile. It has decent recovery on the ground. So if you're doing like some zoning, jump back projectile's quite good actually. So, you know, jump back projectile. I'm doing the wrong direction because I'm rubbish. Oh, wow. I'm actually really bad at this game. Right, jump back, jump. You know, you'll notice that there's less like recovery than you'd think for a move like this. So if you are playing a retreating game, instant air, jump back projectile's actually pretty damn decent. And then you start adding like other cameo moves on top of this to kind of make your zoning a little bit more annoying. Like, it all works quite well with everything combined. You just need to have the right team to maximize how good you can be at range. Not much else to that really, apart from that it can just sort of create some combos. Should you do forward 2-1-2, you can do missile, pick up, whatever you want to do really. You know, if I've got Sektor, for example, I'll do missile, call in teleport. Let me just try that again. You know, that's a really, really simple one. You can get a lot more than that, but I'm just keeping it simple for the sake of this video. It's quite decent for what it is. Now, if we're looking at combo tools, for example, the main one is down, back, 4. This is a kind of reverse teleport of what Sektor had in older games, and it launches. Doesn't launch off everything, but when this hits, you can pop up and do other combos still, right? You can still get other things to get more damage. The EX version of this will hit on the way up, and importantly, kind of have its own set juggle gravity. So if you're using it at the end of a combo, which is most of the time you will be using it for that, that's where it really shines. So if I do something that launches, and then I combo... Sorry, excuse me. Let me just try that again. If I use it like now, when there's plenty of gravity, you'll notice they still get launched really high. So that's one of the main reasons you would use this, is those kind of last-minute juggles to get extra damage still. And as you can see, I'm going to try and show you again. If I'm going to go for some sort of launch here, let's say I just want to end in a restand. I'm going to spend the EX late. You know, restand into Flame Burner because the gravity is so high. Boom, I get Flame Burner, and it's happy days, isn't it? So that's really, really handy for that. Another move that you can use for combos is the down back 2. This is the airborne missile. Or they call it the anti-air missile, but this is mostly used as a combo tool. Standalone, its main use, to be honest, is after a launch has happened. So, again, I'm just going to, like, do 2-1-2, I'm going to launch him again, and then I can jump in and get something else. That's kind of the main reason for the standard missile. The EX version will launch them if they are on the ground. Now, I'd seen some people online say that it's, like, safe. You know, a safe overhead low from this and this. If I look at the frame data, this move says it's like -15, so I kind of don't think it is safe, but I don't know, maybe that's just a weird thing. I have tested it. I mean, if I record myself, this is just me confirming Hang on, that's not what I want to do. EX down back 2. Like, that's punishable, right? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do, like, overhead into it. That's them trying to mix you up. Yeah, it is punishable. Good. It means I'm not going crazy. Yeah, so this is definitely unsafe, but it does launch them on the ground. It works as a hit confirm as well. So you can just confirm this into something else. It's not the end of the world. But the main purpose of this is definitely going to be juggles. And speaking of juggles, the missile on the ground is really good for corner combos. So let's do something and try and keep up with me here. I promise you, it's a bit fast. You can do these kind of combos. As you can see, it creates this really cool sort of looping juggle situation, and the missile is what you really want here. This is where you can get all kinds of different corner combos. You know, let's say I'm going to be doing this. You get these kind of weird launches, and it's because of the set juggle that starts to deteriorate the more you do it, but it's still pretty generous. So corner combos, this down back 2 is very, very, very handy. Outside of that, there's not a huge amount of other moves to talk about. A big one is going to be the float, as float is a decent move for combos. If using it in setup, I mean, it is going to be a little bit expensive from like a resource department. However, you know, the float is something that I think over time we'll start to see a little bit more setups for, but as of right now, it's mostly being used for combos where you create a launch, you can do 2-on-2, you can do, let's try this again, 2-on-2, float, you know, 2-on-2 again, down back 2 because it creates a decent safe jump for you. The float is mostly being used for these situations. However, I'm very, very certain that over time we're going to be seeing that for more things. I'm already seeing like low hat low into like float overheads, or tremor, low ground pound into like overhead, and then the low comes out. There's quite a lot of source happening, but you need to get time in the lab, right? You got to practice it, refine it, and you know, put it all together. Now, before I forget, the final move is down back 3. This is really, really good for absorbing projectiles, and the main reason for that, if I set myself to sort of default distance, and then I record Sub-Zero throwing a projectile at me, this will absorb projectiles, and importantly, give me a charge of standing 2. So once that becomes available, it kind of just opens up this very fast mid that you can now throw out. You got to be careful with this, though, because like most things, it will lose to like lows and everything else, so if you're using it too close, they will kind of just bait it and kill you. So you do have to be a little bit careful, but if you're full screen, using this shield to absorb and just get this free standing 2 charge is very, very, very handy for you. But overall, I mean, this is kind of what Sektor is all about. Sektor has decent footsies because she's got an advancing mid, she's got this overhead low game with the back 2, the back 3. She's got missiles all day. She's got air rocket. She's got straight rocket. She's got the sidewinder. All of this works quite well together and is extended when you have a cameo available. Now, when you're looking at combos, combos are always tied to launching into standard teleport and then using her 2-1-2 air ground bounce. So a standard combo will be like 2-1-2, 2-1-2, end it in this or whatever else to create a safe jump if that's what you want to do. You can do launches into 2-1-2 on its own, down back 2, jump in 1-3-4, EX launch, you know, end it in that 3-2 if that's what you want to do for the knockdown or the distance and the high damage of the air string that, again, does about 140 damage, right, for 2 hits. That's really, really good damage. It is a lot simpler than you'd think. Some of the combos look a little bit complicated, but once you get, like, the hang of them a few times, it really isn't that bad, especially when you compare her to some other characters. Knowing when to use certain launches with your cameo or other moves is handy. Knowing that something like forward 2-1 cannot combo into regular telly, but a cameo launch can, that's really helpful. So if you have the right cameo to help with that, you know, all the power to you. And if you want a different kind of ender, this is where her standing 3 comes into play. The standing 3 is just really good for ending combos. You wouldn't really use it outside of combos because it is slow, as you can see, like 18 frames and a high. You wouldn't only ever use this in combos. So mid-screen, if I do some kind of launch, right? End, sidewinder, creates a good knockdown. I've seen people do corner combos using this move, where you do like a launch, a bit tight. I don't really use this path myself. I actually use a slightly different one. You know what I mean? So, like, it does a little bit of extra damage, but you got to factor in that it hits twice. So that's 2 hits of combo gravity that you're going to be losing to make possibly the later part of a combo a little bit more tricky. And you got to kind of just get used to the timing. See what I mean? So you get these kind of cool situations that are all tied to standing 3, or personally I like doing standing 4, but that's mostly just because it's early days. I don't want to hit my combos. I don't want to be dropping nothing. So don't worry about overcomplicating your combos for now. Just get comfortable with learning the character. So we've gone over all sorts of different stuff, right? We've gone over the strings, some basic combos here. I've talked about like some of the air string utility, how you put these special moves together. A big part of this, though, is tied to having the right cameo. And before I even get into cameos, her fatal blow, I can't show the whole thing because, you know, we're on YouTube. But the important thing about her fatal blow is that it's full screen. That is a really big deal. It's quite slow on startup, as you would expect, because it goes full screen. But if they do anything that you're fast enough to react to, full screen fatal blow. If you're playing Sektor, I mean, just have the faster option because they buffed it. That is so strong, and a story for another time. Let's talk about all the cameos now. Okay, so it's time to talk about cameos. Now, this is going to be the bulk of the video. I know that this has been quite a long video already, but look, Sektor's kind of complicated. There's a lot going on, and I want to make sure I cover as much as I possibly can. On a side note, I do like doing these videos kind of live like this and then edited a little bit later. I kind of like the idea that some people can just play along with me and do it in real time as I go. I actually find that's quite a helpful way for me to learn characters, so hopefully that rubs off and can affect other people the exact same way. So, starting off with the Sektor cameo, I've shown a bit of this already throughout the video, but let's go over what Sektor's doing. The first thing is Flame Burner. Flame Burner is just nice to have on block. Yes, it's armorable, but you can cancel it and bait armor anyway. This was a change that was made, so there is a bait situation happening there. Especially with armored launchers kind of not being as prominent in this patch, because Lao got nerfed, Tanya got nerfed. So baiting out armor is a little bit more efficient than it once was, and being able to end combos in a restand can be quite handy because you've got an overhead and you've got a low, so this all kind of helps a lot for you. The second thing is teleport. This is used for things that normally cannot launch meterlessly. For example, the forward 2-1 is a big one here, that should you land the forward 2-1, teleport, and then get some sort of launch combo, this doesn't cost you anything besides cameo gauge, and by the time you've done your jump, your safe jump situation, half of it has already regenerated, because the Sektor teleport is a lot more cameo generous, I would say, than the missile. So this teleport can be handy for stuff. Let's say I go for like a forward 2-1-2 missile, hit the teleport. If you time it correctly, this is a launch as well. You can pick up into whatever you want. That can also go forward to missile, which is handy. So that's just a decent tool to have, just those last minute confirms and those meterless launches. The bulk of this, though, is of course going to be the missile combos. Now, this is the bulk of the damage that this team is going to give you, is being able to go 4-2, missile, and then, as you can see, it's pretty damn decent damage. That was 1 bar, 1 cameo, 430, give or take, into safe jump, into good situation. You can set up into overhead low. To make this easier, I'm just going to go close distance just to speed up the reset. So, doing overhead into launches, this is all really, really handy stuff as well. You can 4-2 from this if you want to just cash out and spend 2 bars of meter and 2 sectors. So let's say I've hit this overhead low. Let's go for it again. This all combos together. Again, let's just get greedy. I want max damage. And max damage I will certainly obtain. So, clearly there's a lot of damage going there. You can use missile mid-combo for certain things. However, the bulk of the damage, if you know a punish is going to land, will come from that 1-bar entry, where you just do EX straight projectile to keep them standing, activate damage over time, confirm, and then do your standard BNB afterwards. Sektor does work quite well for this because you've got zoning, you've got up missiles, you've got sidewinder, you've got grounded missile, you've got air missile, you've got all this stuff that a Sektor missile can really help from a zoning department. just to create that extra obstacle. So, you know, ironically, Sektor is giving Sektor similar utility, but almost doubled up. I was worried there were going to be sort of diminishing returns from this team, but clearly the extra damage and the extra mix-ups can really help you by just having a missile on screen that you can set up. Now, obviously, the only missile that you can do reactively comes from 4-2. You cannot do the same thing from like a 1-1 or an overhead or a low. You have to somewhat set it up. It still works, but you have to do the missile preemptively, which mostly comes down to setup. So let's say I've gone for like a combo here. You can do it even later than that. You know, you have to do it even later as you go in. But it can be done. It's just not a guaranteed situation. It's something that, you know, is dependent on their wake up. It's dependent on their delayed wake up if they choose to do that. But if you do manage to land something, it's really big damage. And just to further exaggerate that, let's just go for a corner combo here. Like, there's a lot of damage on deck for very little, and it does result in really, really good damage on its own. And this will also extend into the exact same situation here. And I dropped it and it was 430. My point is that Missile gives you a lot of damage, but it also doubles up into mix-up situations, zoning, all that good stuff. So Sektor, a decent cameo, one that you can definitely get the job done with, but there are other options that I'm seeing be a little bit more popular, and let's go over them now. Easily the most common cameo we're seeing at the moment is Motaro. Now the combos are completely similar. So if you go for like 4-2 EX, and you do it correctly, you can get the exact same combos, but you simply use Motaro's teleport instead. So being able to do this kind of combo, it's the exact same combo I just did, only this one is using the teleport for Motaro to get a much more reactionary situation. This applies to overhead low. Same combo, same situation. Let's do the low now. Same combo, same situation. You understand what I'm talking about here. If you hit anything as a punish now, you can just easily turn it into a Motaro combo because he will teleport you and give you other things. Now, it's not just that. You obviously have the low shot for the plus frames, which is going to be plus, and you've got, you know, a fast standing one, you've got other buttons too. So having just that on block definitely helps you out on offense. And if you are zoning and someone throws a projectile, the reflect in combination with your own zoning, definitely helpful as well. Motaro is one of the more simple cameos, but it gets the job done. It gives you a lot of combos. It helps out your zoning because, let's not forget, you have a far teleport now. So if the opponent's kind of closing in distance and you're kind of at this range, you can always just throw a projectile, teleport, and then go full screen or whatever else you want to do. Like, there's a lot going on, but it's really simple stuff. And if you're just starting out, Motaro is a pretty decent starting point. Purely because you can just do everything into combo, teleport, and turn it into a full combo. You've got to be careful here, though, because if you don't confirm this, you're still punishable as you reappear the other side. So this is not a safe situation. You can get punished if you reappear. I've punished a lot of Motaro Sektors just doing that. If you see them block it, you can go to a safer distance, because let's not forget Motaro has a far teleport now, so you can be safer going to a range, but from that distance you cannot turn it into a combo. So you still got to be aware of your surroundings. You need to know if it's hitting or not, and then dedicate to the right teleport accordingly. This is very much a sort of layer 1, but for what Sektor is currently doing, it does help you quite a bit. I haven't really seen anyone use turret mode, but I think to close out a round, you know, you can sort of zone out with that if you want. But it really is. This teleport is the magic button for this cameo, for the combos that I've just demonstrated. Alright, so my next cameo is someone that I've actually been playing quite a lot. It's Shujinko. Shujinko was buffed in this patch. He's got back cameo, up cameo, which is a 2-hit chain, and forward cameo, up cameo, a 2-hit crumple. The safer version is the overhead chop from the back version of this. It's safe on blocks, so you haven't got to worry about it. And the unsafe crumple, while it is unsafe on block, can be hit confirmed and gives you a full combo meterlessly for no resources. That is the big deal here. Shujinko can do this no matter what. As long as he's not, like, out of play, like he's been punched in the face or something, Shujinko can always come in and do this, which is very helpful for every character in the game. It helps out Sektor. Why? Meterless overhead low. And because it's a rather extended chain, you can hit confirm this. If I'm doing back 2 and I see it hit, you simply confirm into the unsafe portion. The only thing that's unsafe is that kick. The punch is safe. So should you land this and you see it hit, you get a full combo. Decent meterless damage, safe jump, and you can jump in and do something else. This is really, really handy for Sektor because it is a confirmable, safe overhead low that you can turn into full combos. So that's layer 1. That's just going to be layer 1 here, is that you get these combos. It's a meterless crumple. It helps out Sektor a great deal. Overhead low, happy days. The second portion of this is the zoning war. I have talked about Shujinko's ability to be on the screen and meet shield projectiles since almost like week 1 of this game, and it hasn't changed. If I put us to, let's set Cyrax to just throw a net, right? If we're zoning, right, and this happens in the Cyrax matchup a lot, we trade a projectile, but I get hit by the goo bomb, and, you know, she teleports in and then hits me with some combo into ridiculous mix-up or whatever. We don't like that. You know, we don't like that as Sektor. If Shujinko's on the screen, he'll sponge it. So if he's on the screen, and I throw my projectiles, and the opponent throws theirs, I am winning the zoning war. I'm taking very little damage by their projectile. And I'm just getting something on the screen that they really can't contest and they have to worry about. So this is super helpful. Like, this is really, really, really helpful. Just having this extra element on the screen that if I'm trying to throw my own projectiles, there's something there getting in the way that is now advantageous to me. So winning the zoning war is the next layer. Just having him there to sponge things. You haven't got to worry about it, and you can throw your own projectiles at will. Now, the final thing to talk about here is combo damage. Shujinko has always, especially since there was that patch that gave him a bunch of, like, the new morphs, can give you a lot of damage. That's all because I just did a string that confirmed into one of the many stuns or launches or whatever else, and used the crumple at the end of a combo to create a situation. So Cyrax is kind of my most played matchup at the moment. If you go for this and you confirm it, it's just really cool to have this extra combo damage available. There's just so much at play here that is meterless. If you want to spend meter, by all means you can, but you don't necessarily have to. The damage just can be very high. You got to be careful with different distances though, because different strings will put Cyrax in a different situation, depending on whether you do kick, depending on whether you do punch. Now, you actually have time to charge Shujinko a second time, so if you want to cash out on extra damage, you definitely can. But this is kind of the basics of Shujinko. You've got the meterless overhead low. You've got the regular, just standard confirms. Which, again, is just decent damage for no meter. And he can help you a little bit in a zoning war. I don't know how decided I am on Shujinko Sektor, but it's definitely fun to play, and something that, look, if you are experienced in MK1, I recommend giving it a go. The next cameo is going to be Sub-Zero, meterless confirms. Having enough time to set up a Sidewinder, turn it into a full combo. Let's keep this meterless and just try and get like a safe jump situation. Let's just do the same thing again. Sidewinder. 2-1-2, float, late 2-1-2, down back 2. Create all these cool situations. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You've got the ice armor to win a zoning war because you now cannot like eat a projectile at all. So that's just going to help you as a zoner, is having this ice armor available while you're throwing projectiles all day, every day, because it's Sektor, that's what she does. And having that potential to just get a combo out. Let's spend a bar here. That's really not terrible damage at all. If you want to commit, I mean, it's going to be a hard commitment, but you can overhead low into this. Do the same sort of thing. It's not the most common cameo that I've seen, but I definitely can see there being some potential. Just having the utility of freeze, having stuff on block like the shoulder, just having cold shoulder could be quite nice for certain things. Just being able to like have extra pushback back to a range that you're kind of happy to be at. There's quite a lot going on, and Sub-Zero is a simpler add-on to that. I feel like it's something that we might see every now and then. I mean, there's a new parry. I guess it remains to be seen how useful that parry is going to be for someone like Sektor. But you've got the plus on block toss, which is really, really nice. You can be plus on this if they block it. And I think a parry that stuns them, although it's 8 frames on startup, I mean, there's probably some mind games you might be able to play. But the main bulk is going to be freeze, big combos from Sidewinder, and the ice armor for counter zoning. You know Sub-Zero cameo at this point. It's pretty much doing exactly what you expect it to do. So Tremor as a cameo is complicated just by design, however, can once again help you in a zoning war. The constant flex and the constant change has the same fast regeneration that the Shujinko meditation has, in that if he gets hit, he's only gone for 3 seconds and not 6. He's one of the rare cases where you can call him way more often than others, which means sponging projectiles while you're throwing projectiles of your own. So I just showed you what Shujinko's doing. Tremor is doing the exact same thing, and probably better, because you can use it reactively to absorb projectiles. A big one is combos. Again, I've been doing this combo all video. Tremor's launcher is the same situation, and this has really fast cooldown for what it is. So should you land any combo here, Tremor is going to turn it into a full combo, and if you want to cash out and get a bit more, you can. There's a lot at play that just makes Tremor, just for the basics of flex into ambush attack for safety and fast cooldown, it works the exact same way for Sektor. It's the same stuff. If you can do this combo that I've been showing all video, the cameo entry is slightly different, but the rest of the combo remains the same. So if you can just do cameo from EX projectiles, or if you have someone that can combo from your EX flame burner, which is your armor, that can help you get a lot of damage. That can definitely help you get damage. So I do recommend you kind of get these combos down, because like 98% of the combo is the same. It's just starting with a different cameo attack. But once that launch is there, the gravity really ain't that different. There's definitely going to be a lot more setups at play. Like, you've got the aftershock low into all sorts of crazy business. And let's not forget, Sektor has a float that puts you airborne. So if you hit this weird situation, I'm actually going to try and lab various weird mix-up situations, because I'm certain they exist, especially if you do like knockdown, like Sidewinder, morph, jump in, get weird overhead stuff. There's definitely going to be some source there, but this cameo is just going to take a little bit more time. On a basic level though, Tremor can definitely work, and just for one final demonstration, let's see how much damage I can get in the corner. I mean, that really isn't that bad, is it, damage-wise? And, I mean, that's unoptimal, of course. There's going to be a lot more you can go for. But, yeah, Tremor, I feel like could be a pretty decent cameo, but is going to need some lab time. Movado is definitely a cameo that I've seen quite a lot of people try out, and it works. You just have to be a lot more committed. You can't make yourself safe off things like overhead, which is -18, remember. You probably can if you call like a mine or something, but it's a huge cost for something just to be safe one time, and then you haven't got Movado for a fair few seconds. The one thing he is going to do is extend combos that otherwise wouldn't be extended. Big one being overhead low. This combo is a bit weird. You don't have a lot of time to get this. You can do like launcher and then whatever else you want to do. That combo is definitely going to be up to you, and you have to pay attention to what the launch situation is, what the height's looking like. The low is the same thing, although I would say the low combo is a lot easier than the overhead one. Other situations that you would otherwise not get a launch, so a meterless forward 2-1, Flame Burner knocks down, and so does the missile. Movado picks up from those launches. He gives you a launcher instead. However, again, these combos can be a little bit tricky to time. You just need to get really comfortable with it. And it's something that I haven't really labbed much, because I haven't played much Movado with this team, but with practice, you can definitely get it. Same thing can be said for Rocket. This is handy for zoning, because should you hit a rocket and it lands, Movado gives you a combo. Hit it, Movado comes in, you get 150 damage projectile, essentially. That's how that's going to work. Which is really helpful in a zoning war, because if you trade and he still turns it into a combo, you can probably still pick up and just get that extra little piece of damage, which is really, really helpful. Same thing if like the Sidewinder hits the opponent. Let's say I've just hit like a Sidewinder, missile. Let's do the same thing here. 200 damage. And this does happen sometimes. In fact, this is a team I think I might start to explore just a little bit more. Mostly just because Movado's quite fun to play. And it does give you big extensions. If I go for any of my standard launches, he can give you a little bit of bonus damage at the end of things. Having something like Sidewinder after a knockdown. Having something like, let's just do this. Let's try that again. The slide can really help those kind of weird setup situations. Movado is just simply going to extend damage, give you confirms off things that normally do not confirm, and give you some bonus mix-ups from things that normally aren't mix-ups. Even your forward 3, which is death on block and not really that much of a big reward. Should you land this with Movado, he can give you a combo for it. Not really quite sure what the combo would be, to be honest, because again, it's something that I haven't labbed extensively. But it's something that is worth a go. If you like playing Movado and you have interest in Sektor, the team can definitely work in various ways, and I'm sure there's stuff I haven't even mentioned here. The final cameo that I'm showing today is Kung Lao. Now, there's a whole bunch of other cameos, don't worry. She works with almost everybody, but this is the last one for this video. Kung Lao is a cameo that I've seen Zombat using with Sektor quite a lot, and it's similar to Motaro. Should you land your projectile, the execution's a bit trickier, like I must admit, because you have to hold the teleport and then get your combo this way. But it still does really good damage, and most of the teleport is back by the time your combo is done, so that's really good as well. It's the same thing as Motaro, like straight up. Same exact situation. There's nothing different about it, other than the execution to do a different teleport of which you have to hold so you can get your airborne jump in. And that is where the similarities, that's the only time it's different, I would say. Now, the benefit of having Kung Lao is that you now have something extra in zoning, because Sidewinder is quite slow, Missile is a good projectile, but it's a high. Now you have a low hat that you can just chuck into your zoning, which is kind of low hat 101. Like, this is just a huge part of the move, and it always has been, is that you have these options. You are able to do these weird sort of create the low hat, shoot your projectile, let it go, shoot another one. Like, this is kind of like the basics of Lao zoning, and Sektor, as you would expect, can capitalize from that too. You can do certain things like low hat, you can float, create hard to block situations, which that was, you know, low overhead. I'm sure there's going to be way more optimal ones, but having a float just means you have an extra threat to combine with an already existing sort of like jump in game that's quite good for Sektor, because I jump 2 quite low to the ground, jump 3 low to the ground. Now you've got this low hat, you can float, and you can create these hard to blocks that go into full combos. It isn't just that with Kung Lao, however. There is the orbiting hat, a new move that was given, and if this lands, it's a full combo. Now, I haven't really labbed if you have enough hit advantage to turn this into things, but, well, I guess you can. Well, that's it. I haven't even tried that, but I had a feeling you could. Orbiting hat going into certain things is really useful. Does it work off overhead? Oh, that's a shame. Oh, I'll go for the other one. Oh, it's not fast enough. That's so sad. Imagine if it was. Imagine if you could just do that into orbiting hat. Oh, that would be so sick. Low. Oh, the low works. All right, Sektor, I see you. It's going to cost the entire cameo gauge, but in a pinch, if you want a full combo from your low instead, that works. And it means you haven't got to spend any meter on it. Now, one thing I didn't mention with Motaro is that should you land this, you do get launching full combo armor from EX Flameburner. The teleport of Motaro and Kung Lao mean that if you go for armor and you know it's going to hit, like you're interrupting a gap or something, you can do teleport and turn it into a combo. A full combo at that. It's going to scale, because most of them do. But 223 for 1 bar, most of your Kung Lao has returned. I think is not too bad for an armored move, which becomes an armored full combo option. I see the vision. I genuinely see the vision of Lao Sektor. Just being able to do, like, hit confirms as well. Like, last-minute hit confirms if you just want to go for a bit of extra damage. If you've got no meter and you can't do it. I feel like you can probably do it with meterless, though. Yep. Yes, you can. Now, I actually haven't really labbed this team all that much, but because there's so much DNA with, like, Motaro's playstyle, it's self-explanatory. But overall, yeah, I mean, this is just a massive collection of different cameos and different strats. This is probably going to be a pretty chunky video, but look, I've time-stamped it, so if you're here until the end, thank you for sticking around. This is everything I've got in my brain with Sektor right now, but it's early days. There's more to find, there's more to discover, and rest assured, I will show you as soon as I find some more cool stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully it helped you. Have fun in the Combat League, or whatever you're going to be playing. I know Combat League isn't always the greatest time in the world. I know that from experience. But I do appreciate you stopping by. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and I'll see you later.